All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. I hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I'ma let him. All I hear, go get the money. So I go get it. Hate means I do something right. So I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. Yeah, I'ma let him. I hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I'ma let him. Early bird, go get the worm. Worm in the dirt. I can show you what I'm worth. My hands in the dirt. From where they look when you not. A hand in your purse. Hell if you think I'm last, last should be first. Go ahead and go feast your eyes. Chefing up, cooking them pies. Leaving no slice, believe on the guy. Who in demand and who got supplies? You on the land, me I'm fly. Look at the miles, I be in skies. Right by my side, miss look at them thighs. Up in Dubai, you see us. Black man, black sand.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm LaWanda.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are back for another of our favorites. The Godfather of Harlem is back for season 2. We are so excited to get started on this recap, but if you guys hang tight, we'll be right back with you.
Wanna show you how I'm nothing like him. Swear that's the truth. So you can't trust that
All right, we are back. Like I said, we're talking Godfather of Harlem. This is season 2, episode 1, titled The French Connection. I was so happy to hear that theme song come back in. And you know, it was so timely that they opened the episode with a DMX song. And I seen at the end of the episode, they also paid tribute to him. So that was very nice.
Definitely.
It was.
I couldn't wait. I started at midnight, catching it. For those of us who can catch it early, I'm sorry to say, spoiler alert, I caught it early. If you didn't, it's all good.
Right.
But I'm glad. I love the opening. It started out hitting every area, So it was good for me.
Yeah. And it picked up kind of like just right where last season left off. We know Bumpy was in some hot water, had to send the family away because he obviously killed a made man. And so that made him a target by the families. So he has, that price on his head right now, and everybody's out to get him. So he's been hiding out. And the episode opens up, he's being chased.
Yeah.
Like he says it's been 3 months that he's been on the run, but they're getting closer on his tail.
And look, 5 families can't kill this.
I was about to say that. He was out of sight for 3 months and 5 families. I'm like, he's a G.
Exactly.
He's a GG.
He's a well-loved G.
Most definitely. And one thing I wanted to say about Chin or Vincent, and I think the other 4 families kind of know better than Vincent. You can't run Harlem, Vincent. Harlem is Black, and you
knows that. He said it.
Yeah, he knows it. He knows of it, but he feels as though that he can just walk into Harlem anytime. He can't, and he needs Bumpy, and he needs to understand that working with Bumpy is a whole lot better than getting on Bumpy's bad end. Because look what has happened. You're not going to take Bumpy out, and I love my boy Chance. Chance is a silent killer.
Yeah,
he's like cancer.
He's a rider.
It just hits you, and and he's just you. What are you going to do, Vincent? You better join the group and stop acting like wuss, because of the fact that you cannot kill Bumpy like that.
Well, at this point, he's humiliated because he can't kill Bumpy at this point. So right now, it's kind of like his pride is on the line, and he feels like he's looking bad to the other families because he can't do his job.
Well, he was definitely humiliated too, because he jumped out there and said he's going to be dead by the end of the day, which did not happen. So I'm just saying, you can't be making those type of guarantees unless you do it.
Yep, right. Exactly.
Yeah, and he's all emotion. He's not, they're about business, you know what I mean? And he's all emotion into this.
Yeah.
But you heard, old boy, he was like, listen to this chauffeur driver. Like, they don't even respect him.
No, really.
You're not a boss for real. You're a chauffeur driver.
Exactly.
And, I thought it was interesting, like how Bumpy, his plan of action to get that, that target off his back, he figured, you know, the only thing that those Italians care more about killing me is their drugs and that money.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he was like, you know what, if I can sever that connection, then I can divert their attention away from me. And it was really just genius how he maneuvered that situation.
And then to bring Method Man in the process, you know, I mean, so, you know, my boy's putting in a lot of work. I was
going to say, man,
but,
he's getting to the bag.
But what I like about Bumpy is his intelligence in the game. And what we talk about with these other recaps that we do, and I won't mention them, but what we see with the Godfather of Harlem is Bumpy is an extremely intelligent man. Mm-hmm. And he seems to work these plots out, and they just take, you know, from the beginning when he captured Frenchie, 98. And I'm thinking, okay, is he going to just talk to him? No, Bumpy stepped it up this season. You know, he pulled out that blade, cut him on the side of the face. You're going to tell me one way or the other.
You know, that's his signature.
Well, he wouldn't talk. He was lying.
Yeah,
he was lying. He said he didn't know who the man was, and so he had to give him some incentive.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did the man say? He said, we've been in a lot of wars, and he's never had a scratch on him until now.
Until now.
So, but I think I like that about Bumpy. He's very strategic. He said, this is like chess. Mm-hmm. So he understands the strategy, and he understands that it's politics too. So, you know, where everybody else like Chin, he's very emotional. This is business. This is business. And you have to employ those kind of strategies because everybody's watching the bottom line. So I thought this was good that Bumpy one-upped him. And they weren't going to get him in Harlem because he's created a lot of loyalty among the people just because he's been good to them, so they'll protect him and they'll watch out for him. So I enjoyed this episode. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What I also like about Bumpy is just, you know, I guess the word for it would be how he kind of has this mentality of like, you gonna get down or you gonna lay down.
Right.
Hey, so that's Philly.
When the Frenchman, I think his name was John, when he wasn't trying to be with the program at first, he was like, you know, you're going to get me killed right along with you. And so he was like, you know what? I got another plan. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, you know what? You're going to work with me one way or the other. So I just love that about him. He's persistent, and he's just always navigating and pivoting when necessary.
Even like when you go back to the chase in the opening scene, Bumpy knew where he was going. He knew exactly where he was headed. The other guys, they you know, the other ones didn't know. They didn't know that. That's how come he was able to maneuver right to where he wanted them to be. And what did they do? Crash. You know, so if that's not telling Vincent anything, I don't know what is going to tell him. You know, Vincent, and in fact, what I see is some dissension in the families with Vincent, because I think they're going to get a little tired of it. Mm-hmm. You know, they're about money. They're about making their money, keeping the peace, and moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I thought it was just like so boss that to show up. You know, they out here hunting for your head, and you show up for them.
Yeah,
that was a boss move.
Yeah, that's in fact, that's incredible. It's amazing they wrote that line in. But like he said, what can you do? I know the guy, or I know the person that has your 500 kilos or whatever it was of cocaine. They're about their money. He knew that.
Mm-hmm. He rightly deduced that the money and drugs were more important than the bounty on his head.
Exactly.
You know, but that's the point, right? You got to know your enemy, and
that's true.
And Bumpy has lasted this long because he knows his enemy. He's a well-studied man. So I was like, okay. And you mentioned, we're not gonna say other shows that we recap, but we keep looking at these. In some ways, heroic figures, right? Mm-hmm. And what we're always looking at is how smart are they? How are they navigating this game that they are in? And so far, I'm wondering, out of the three, I don't know if we don't get into comparison, but out of the three main characters,
we can.
Yeah. So if we're looking at Franklin and we're looking at Ghost, and then we have Bumpy Johnson. Now, mind you, Bumpy is based on a real character. I mean, they all bring different assets to the table, but it's kind of like, in terms of power, I'm thinking that Bumpy probably has a notch over all of them, just because of his his reputation, that he is known. He is feared, he is respected, he is well loved. He is, and you have to be you have to reckon with him.
And he's also the oldest of all of those comparisons. So he's around the block. He got that respect over the years. And so I think having age, and being an OG goes a long way.
Because Franklin's only 21 on the show. So he's still, even though he's smart and precocious as he is, he's a kid. And on the show with Ghost, he's supposed to be in his 40s, early 40s.
Yeah.
But I think with Franklin and Bumpy, you see that both shows are tainted in reality. And I think that's what makes the writing much richer and able to follow follow the paths that it's taking. So I think with those two shows, if you're going to compare, they it's Franklin. I think Snowfall is about as close to Harlem, Godfather of Harlem, as you can get within certain aspects. So I like the two. I like them all. I like all of what we do.
They all have qualities that attract you, and they kind of that engage you.
Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah, and so on the topic of Bumpy, he was able to bring his family back home at the end of the episode, so that was a positive. But it seemed like everybody was kind of having some family issues this week. Vincent in his own household, Stella has been going through it since Teddy was murdered last season,
which was confirmed, because I was hoping he didn't die, even though I knew he died. There was something in me that was hoping that he didn't die. And it was confirmed when I saw how she behaved. I was like, oh.
Yeah. It was sad too, because I mean, as much as they loved each other, they knew that they couldn't be together. They still tried.
They needed to leave to be together. They couldn't be together in Harlem with a bounty on his head. And that's the other thing. He's so focused on Bumpy and who she is dealing with and stuff. I mean, his daughter is suicidal. Like, he should have been more concerned about her happiness.
He needs to get a grasp on what Black power really means. Because when he looks at his daughter, I mean, she's really going through it, and you took this from her, and she's never going to forgive him for that, and he better get a real grasp on what Black power really is. He still thinks that you remember in the first episode or second episode when he was, they had kind of come face to face, and he said to Bumpy, "I'm above you." And that just tore Bumpy apart. He went back to his office and nearly wrecked his office because of that statement. And Bumpy never forgot that. And so, if Chin is going to be around any longer, he better respect Black power, because that's what he sees happening right now in his home and out there with Bumpy.
Well, I think his problem is he's so stubborn. He thinks he can have everything his way. In terms of the drug business and taking over Harlem, it has to be his way. In terms of dealing with his household and dealing with Stella, it has to be his way. He's had that girl locked in her room literally since Teddy passed. And so she's been just sitting in there rotting away, kind of just like grieving alone, lashing out at her mother. And so I guess it took his brother, the priest, to come in and try to talk some sense in him and let him know, like, you need to give her some freedom, or the situation really isn't going to improve.
But of the four families, he appears to me to be the one that has the most hatred for Blacks. It's based on our thoughts, yeah, and that's where he's faltering, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and go ahead, Luanda.
No, go ahead, Tiara.
Well, I was going to say, like, his disdain for Black people is probably rooted in the fact that he keeps trying to outdo like Bumpy in his situation, but he keeps failing. And so the more he fails at targeting Bumpy and his organization, the more upset he gets at Black people in general. And I think that that's where all that anger comes from, is the fact that he keeps getting outdone by Bumpy.
Yeah, you can see this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and you can see this as his character flaw, because he's so blinded by it, he's gonna keep making mistakes, because that's what he's after, rather than just trying to handle the business. Because if you think about it, not only did the girl lose her boyfriend, somebody she's loved, she's the reason why he's dead. You know what I mean? So it's more than just grieving. She has to feel guilt. That's got to be a horrible feeling. And his response is to lock her in a room. Like,
right.
He
didn't know what to do. He said he didn't know what to do. And the thing is this, I remember Chris Rock or one of the comedians a long time ago had to stand up and he said something like, it doesn't make any sense to hate anybody. He said, because whoever you hate gonna end up in your family. Mm-hmm. And as much as he hated black folks, his daughter was in love with a black man.
Yeah.
So,
So true.
And I thought it was interesting that he would send Ernie over there, of all people, knowing that she can't stand him.
Mm-hmm.
Over with flowers.
And it's his fault too, because he led dude to Teddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And what did you guys think of the scene where she kind of took Ernie's gun and held it up to her head? I
thought about that. When he sat down on the bed next to her, I thought to myself, this woman's gonna grab his gun. I thought she was gonna shoot him.
I thought she was gonna shoot him too.
But it just goes to show you, Ernie is just not with a full deck, and I don't think he ever will have one. I mean, why would you do that to a woman that's suicidal, B, the one that hates you? It just didn't make any sense.
But he broke through though. He got through to her because he was able to get her to put the gun down. And I think
he got through.
Yeah, well, because he mentioned Teddy. One of the things he said was Teddy wouldn't want this for you, which is true.
That's true.
And that's probably the only thing, besides the fact that he reminded her of all the blessings that she had, nice house, someone who loves her, this, that, and the other, and stuff like that. He was able to reason with her, but he did, mention Teddy, and that helped talk her off the ledge.
I think that's true. I think Teddy was the key to kind of bring her back. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or she's just buying time until she can get free enough to actually get away too.
Yes.
To, kind of garner some trust among her family. It gives her enough time and resources for her to actually leave and go to Paris if that's where she really wants to go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree. I'm still hoping Stella can get it together and get out of that.
I'm hoping she don't hook up with Ernie, because I'm like, he took her to lunch, and I'm like, I hope she doesn't eventually start falling for him.
Yeah,
she's an intelligent woman, and I just don't see what Ernie could offer her. There's just nothing he can offer her.
No, he can't. But she's vulnerable right now.
But she's
and that's why I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, she's basically choosing death over Ernie right now. So I don't see what he can do for her.
But he got her out that room. Well, and that's the thing. Like she was locked up and everything. And she agreed willingly. She was like, let's go get something to eat. That's the first time that we had even heard her say that she wanted to get out in the open or whatever and stuff. So I was like, And if she keeps spending time with him, she's in a vulnerable state, he possibly could break through. I don't want her with him, but I'm just saying it's a possibility.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I think she's just going to use him. Definitely to get out, but I wonder if she will ever attempt to make it back over to Teddy's neighborhood, and at least I know she had a rough relationship with his mother, and his mother was already.
She better not go to that neighborhood.
I know. I just have a feeling she's gonna go back and try to make amends.
Listen, she'll be checking out for sure. If she wanted to kill herself, that's the way to do it.
No,
because Mama would take her out.
It's interesting you said that, Tiara, because if Ernie does anything for her, he could take her back to that neighborhood. Maybe she'll find another brother that she could mess with, and maybe that's what she would want to do sometime in the near future. If Ernie can do anything for her, it would be just that. Take her back into that neighborhood, make amends with the mom, although that would be a crucial mistake, just like you said. But she does have some feeling of guilt, and maybe that will help.
Yeah.
But what about Stella's mom?
Stella's mom is crazy.
Okay, is it me? I'm just thinking that's her reaction, is to say she's nuts after all this girl and been through, and you locked in the room.
Well, the mom is just as bad as Vincent. I mean,
that's true.
She's just as racist, and so I don't think she feels any remorse as far as she's concerned. She's like, I don't have to worry about my daughter being with a black man anymore.
Right.
Yeah. Right. I see how those two hooked up. They perfect for each other.
Right.
Like Stella, you didn't win with the parents. You didn't win.
Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about Malcolm because he was going through it this episode. As of last season, he had been kind of silenced by the nation because of, you know, him kind of overstepping his bounds and going against what Elijah Muhammad wanted him to do. So he got silenced for 90 days and has been on the rocks with the nation, and he's trying to work his way back in. But man, this Captain Henry character, he is exactly that.
Yes,
he's
a
Judas.
character.
He's Judas, and that's the problem, you know. And you know, it was with the Black Panther Party. You always have a Judas, somebody that's, you know, he's so jealous of Malcolm that you could just see the spoils coming, you know. And just as Malcolm said, you know, he had been writing to Elijah Muhammad and was wondering if those letters even made it to him. And he, Captain Henry, sitting on there, you know, sitting on a throne and just not giving the respect due to Malcolm at all. And we see that later on. We could talk about that later, but you know, it's just the jealousy aspect of it.
Well, it's interesting to me that he would admit his jealousy to Malcolm and then turn around and backstab him.
Well, his jealousy runs deep.
It does.
Really, yes.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, but I think that was also his way to gain his trust to why he continues to betray him. It was like he was setting him up, right?
He was setting him up.
He was, yeah.
I think that was the most, I'm trying to think of the word, it was just evil, right? It's one thing to keep the letters and to set them up, but to turn around and apologize to him and gain his trust and then stick the knife in a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he went.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, go ahead.
Initially, I thought, you know, he may be coming around because when they discussed whether Elijah Muhammad actually went out and had these kids, you know, he did ask Muhammad, well, suppose it's true. And Muhammad said, you know, Malcolm said, I'm going to protect him. And, you know, then he goes home and he's looking at scripture to find a way to ease the burden that Elijah Muhammad had with this, you know, at the time.
Scandal.
Yeah. So I thought at a moment that maybe he's coming around, but as we see, not the case.
But Brother Henry was the one who suggested that it was true. You know,
he did. That's why he said, what if it is true?
Yeah. And that's why I thought maybe, okay, well, maybe here's a breakthrough. Maybe this is where the two of them.
Yeah, well, I knew he was setting it up because us knowing history and how things went down.
Yeah.
You know, that seeing the Malcolm situation play out like this is heartbreaking.
No, it is. Yeah.
And Captain Henry really wanted Malcolm at his mercy. Like it wasn't about making amends or anything like that. Like, and even though he admitted his jealousy, he wanted Malcolm groveling to get back in. And so that's exactly what Malcolm was kind of doing. He had to acknowledge that he would indeed submit. And I think that took a lot out of him to, you know, say that I'm going to put my pride aside and actually submit and go with whatever you're saying. And I think the morality of that situation, like, his wife was kind of bringing that question up, like, what about those girls? Don't they deserve justice too?
Yeah.
Bothers him. But the fact that he was still willing to defend the prophet, despite those allegations, whether they were true or false, that says a lot about how far he was willing to go to get back in.
And let me say about my Black women, because his wife, he had that moment of deep depression, and she kind of brought it out of him by reminding him, your father, your husband, you know. And I'm like, okay, you know, now see, that's what a good Black woman is for.
Yeah,
you know?
because he was like, what am I without, you know, the nation? And then what do you mean? You're a husband. You're a husband. You're a father. You're this. I'm like, I heard that, Betty. Let's speak truth to him.
But you know what? But that's like you said, is very tragic because he was a true believer. You know?
Yeah, he was.
He drank the Kool-Aid, right? And he really believed in the mission. He really believed in Elijah Muhammad, and it shows how willing he was going to go for the people, right? For the people but through this institution, because he thought he needed the institution when it was really him. It was him. It was the personality. It was his work that was of value, and not necessarily the institution. I think just like when we're looking at Chin, it's these institutions, whether it's the 5 families or Bumpy, and having to navigate this, is all political. And I think that's the most I think interesting thing about the show, is you're seeing how each of these figures, even Adam Clayton Powell, right? How are they dealing with people? How are they negotiating, right? When they get into these conflicts or these disputes, and you can see who's more adept at it. So you look at Bumpy and you see he's the statesman in this group, right?
Sure is.
So far, the one that seems to be able to come up with a solution for all of his problems, but they're all kind of having these same negotiations that they have to make within these institutions, playing politics.
I wonder if they're going to show to Mecca in one of the seasons when Malcolm X actually gets the truth.
I think so, because that was the biggest thing too. I mean, before his death and everything, that realization about the religion and stuff. So they're gonna have to show that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this continues to play out, because right now Malcolm thinks that he's back in and everything's all good. Meanwhile, Henry has told the prophet that he suggested that the rumors against him were true. So he's just going to be blindsided completely. Which I just think he's already struggling mentally and emotionally with being ousted. And so having to face, Elijah Muhammad and those saying that you believe the story, I think that's going to hurt him a whole lot. And it can definitely damage his mental state too.
Which it already has. That's why he needs a strong wife, and and I think she's filling that void pretty well, because he's really broken up about that religion. I mean, he went all in. He left nothing behind. He went all in.
And he's really a good servant too, because even in his interaction with Elise, where he was asking her, how are you faring? Well, I know that killing a man, I know what that can do to you. And considering she's a recovered drug addict, it could be something that haunts her and causes her to, go back in the wrong direction. So it was just nice of him to check up on her and to check on her mental state, despite him facing his own issues.
But I like her response, though. She knew what she had to do. She did what she had to do, and she said, if I'm not mistaken, what did she say?
Kill or be killed.
Yeah,
it was. It really was. It was going to kill her father.
No, and he would have killed her too.
Yeah.
And he succeeded. So, my soul is fine when it comes down to you and me. And it's obvious that it is you or me. This is the only way to go. You got to check out.
Yeah. And I was happy to see that Elise and Bumpy's relationship is still intact, with her delivering his meals and stuff like that, because they had a rough relationship starting off. And even as Margaret had called him and he handed the phone to Elise and was like, talk to your mother and sister, it's like that awkwardness is still there a little bit, but you can tell they're trying to work on it.
I think that was the only part in this episode that was a little off, in terms of, would you really have your daughter bringing you food because it's easily
traceable?
Yeah, because which it was. I think that if you were going to have someone bringing food, to me it would be one of your members, and the food wouldn't be so prevalent, wrapped up as it were, because what they thought that he was, moving from place to place every 2 or 3 days, but then his daughter is bringing him food every day, and it's obvious it's food. And I think if there's a rough part in the writing, that would be it to me.
I see what you mean, because exactly what you would expect to happen happened.
Exactly.
Something that followed and attacked.
Exactly. Yeah. And it could have been a lot worse.
Well, you know what? I was so nervous. My heart was in my stomach when Elise was behind that door because I was afraid that she had gotten shot. Because I've come to really like her because she, you know, I like characters that redeem themselves. And she's come a long way. So I was like, oh no, please don't let anything happen to her. But when they pulled the shower curtain back and she was all right, I was like.
But it was that look on Bumpy's face when he initially walked in, you know, and I'm thinking, oh wow, she was shot.
Yeah, well, this is firstborn. So I mean, you know, so of course he probably was like, oh my gosh. Because he had told her, go in here, you'll be all right in here. And they shot up the place. So, you know.
Yeah, that was a rough moment in time because I was afraid too, just like you said. Yeah, that's gonna be something for Elise too. I hope she isn't traumatized by that because she's been through some stuff.
Listen, she and Malcolm have a very tender relationship. Because when she said something to him like, yeah, because I need you. He looked. And he just looked down at the paper. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, because if we know he is, I would really think that like they had a like he would probably end up acting on something, you know, because they do seem to have an attraction or at least some kind of like tension, like that friction you have when you're attracted to somebody.
Yeah, tender.
Yeah, they like each other. She respects him. He helped. Get her, you know, helped her recover. He's been counsel to her and everything and stuff. So obviously they've become close.
Yeah, but I think they also can relate because if you remember a little something about Malcolm's background, he's a person that's been redeemed, been in trouble with law, been in prison, has used drugs before. So I think they can relate in that aspect because they can understand what each person has been through. So I think that's another thing. And they can also appreciate what Islam has done for them and how it's changed their lives.
Saved their lives,
Yeah. Good point. And you brought up Adam Clayton Powell a little bit earlier, but he is off the chain. Apparently he's been hiding out too in DC, trying to escape Esther's wrath, but he's coming back to Harlem, and Esther James is somebody that has to be dealt with in order for him to not be arrested upon arrival.
They're very formidable. I love them.
I do too. She was like, I was expecting an apology. He was like, $20,000 apology enough. But he had to humble himself.
Just
I love his character because he's so funny when he's probably not even trying to be. Like he was dead serious dealing with her.
Yeah,
like,
he was.
Enough of you. What more do you want?
That accent that he carries, it makes it even funnier. You know, it's just that Southern drawl type thing that he has going on with it. And it just makes him a funny character.
He is killing that role.
He is. Giancarlo Esposito is a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal.
Yes, he is.
You always believe he's who he says he is.
Yes. Yes. This whole ensemble cast, amazing.
Yeah, that's one thing I can definitely say. Like the casting is on point, the acting is on point, storyline is on point. Like this is just an all-around good show, and the music.
Oh, music.
Yes.
I like the writing. I think is phenomenal as well because the other thing, because you can kind of see the themes that was running through this episode, and another of those was pride because each of the characters had to deal with that. They had to humble themselves. They had to deal with their pride and their egos because if they hadn't, they wouldn't have been able to navigate the situations that what they're in. And Chin is the one who had to swallow his, but to me, it's almost like he just lived to fight another day because he's still trying to figure out a way to get Bumpy. He's not.
Oh, that's always. He's always gonna be looking for himself. Yeah, he like Pharaoh. Like he gonna have to go through it and be humbled. You know, it is interesting. You talked about like the mental state and talked about we saw like Malcolm's vulnerability, and we talked about how Bumpy was a statesman. We also saw Bumpy's vulnerability because when he called and talked to his wife in the beginning at first, when he was struggling with being in in hiding and everything, and because for a minute there I looked because I was like, is this a flashback? Is he back in jail? And I'm like, oh no, he's in a hideaway place talking to his wife and everything. And he was really struggling for a moment. So we saw his vulnerability too.
And I saw Mayme's character. She seemed to be a little tired of waiting. I think she wanted to get back home as well. It was just something in her voice when she spoke with him over the phone that told me that she might be a little through with this hideout situation too, because she's definitely a metropolitan sister. She likes the light, she likes the clothes, So
it's hard for New Yorkers to go down south, especially during that time, because everything is so slow.
Exactly.
Yeah, she wanted to get back to normal. But one of the things I do appreciate about it is that at the end, how they were all at the dinner table together, even Elise and all of them, because remember last season, how she gave her the money to go get some drugs before Elise found God. I'm happy that they've come to, everybody seems to be in a good place right now, and I like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't last long though. We know this show. It's always something.
That's true.
But I'm looking forward to this season in general. One of my predictions, or at least something I'm hoping to see more of Method Man's character, Sam. I think he fits right in with this show.
Yeah, he just.
I tell you, he's become quite the thespian.
Yeah. Do you guys have any predictions you want to throw out or speculations?
That Chin will keep being Chin. He's going to keep coming after Bumpy. That's one prediction we probably can have every week.
Funny, because I was going to play off that. In fact, I will play off that. I think as Chin continues to go down that line with Bumpy, I think he's going to lose even more favorability with the other four members. And so he's really on a very thin line. While he better start watching his back, because I think that, he's becoming a loose cannon in terms of the members. And so they don't mind taking him out. In fact, it would probably be, my prediction is that they do take him out and offer that spot to Bumpy. I know it's a stretch. I know it's a stretch, but I'm gonna stretch it. I think that, look, you can't miss what Bumpy brings to that organization.
Okay, he's an asset for sure.
For sure.
I just think that sometimes their racism outweighs their sensibilities, and they're gonna be like, well, he's still a black man. We don't want that as the face of our organization.
I think it would be some sort of silent partnership. He's not going to be, out and about as they are. But I can see if they were to get rid of Chin, I'm saying, I can see them bringing Bumpy.
I'm gonna tell you why I don't think that'll happen. That won't happen because he vouched for Bumpy before, and Bumpy lied to him about killing a guy.
He sure did. He sure did, because Bumpy was a made man already.
Yeah, but
so that won't happen again. I think once
you cross get over, you don't think they'll ever get over that? I mean,
not Chin.
No, not Chin.
Well, I think one of my predictions is for Chin, the fact that the family knew Bumpy killed a made man and they still kind of letting it slide a little bit. I think Chin is gonna say, you know what? Well, if he can do it, I can kill him. And so I think he's gonna try to go after Bumpy continuously, but he's not gonna kill Bumpy. I think that one of Bumpy's close men is gonna get killed behind Vincent. And I don't know. I have a feeling that Chin is not going to stop.
Oh, he ain't gonna
stop. I don't think he is.
Gonna stop.
All right, y'all got anything else?
Well, if it's going historically correct, we know things are gonna heat up for Malcolm as well. So we'll see like major changes in the pressure. More pressure will be put on him, coming from the FOI and outside forces too. So.
It'll be real interesting to see what happens with Bumpy when that happens too.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, how will it affect their relationship?
It's well, we'll see.
And Powell too. He had interesting situations as well in real life. So we'll continue to see how that plays out on the show.
Harlem was the place to be, right?
I said shows that are based on like historical facts and things like that. It's hard to know if the writers will stick to the script or if they'll change things up for entertainment purposes.
I think they do both sometimes. You know, they include a lot of history, but sometimes they take a little bit of creative liberties to make stuff more entertaining.
Right.
And it's interesting you said that, because I can see them cutting out that part about Mecca and going straight to the shooting.
Yeah, they might not go that far, you know.
But the other part of it is the history is so interesting too. Like once you start hearing all the stories that we don't know, the inside scoop, it tends to be as interesting and entertaining as fictional accounts, right? So it's probably a mixture of both. All the different stories coming from, because one of their Professor Smalls, who's a noted historian and spiritual leader, he's been consulting on it, and he was the one who took over the mosque after Malcolm was assassinated. So he's been consulting on the show. So you know they're getting a lot of the inside scoop of what really happened. And so of course they take artistic license, but I think it just makes for real interesting TV at this point.
It does.
It's a way to incorporate the history and get you to go kind of look behind the scenes to figure out whether or not it's true. So separate fact from fiction.
Good point. Awesome. Well, I enjoyed this episode. And like I said, I am looking forward to the rest of this season. I will be tuned in every Sunday. To the viewers out there, I hope you'll be tuned in too. This is a really great show. It is on the Epix channel. So if you have not already checked it out, please make sure you do. They do have a free 7-day trial. You better binge that whole first season and get caught up if you haven't already. And make sure you also subscribe and click the notification bell here on our page as well, so that you get notified every time we post a video. We will finish our recaps of other shows, and we'll continue to do this show as well. So
and become a spotter. We have some great spotters that and they leave some, you know, very thoughtful comments. We really appreciate you guys. And, you know, come on in and join the party, because, I mean, there's plenty of room. The water's fine. You know, come on, let's do this thing.
Please do. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The Spot Real Talk as well. You guys have anything else to add before we close out?
Nope, I'm good.
No? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good night.
All right. Good
See
night.
ya.
I gotta play it safe. Watch me isolate, watch me isolate, hey, watch me isolate. Whoa, clear out the room, I'm coming through. They wanna see what I'm about. Yeah, I got skills, do it for the thrill. I'm on a paper route. Extra, read about it. I'm today's trending topic. I put commas over bullshit. Yeah, I put that on mamas. They tryna block all my blessings. They thought I lost a stepping. I bet on me and my team. ISO is what I'm repping. Put on for the whole city.